Joining us now, we jiggled his chain. We called him up. We rustled him up. Ben Tribbett. Now, Ben's very, very busy now because Ben is a now nationally sought-after, coveted Democratic consultant. There was a day when Ben did Virginia. No, now he's national. I mean, he's in California. He's in Texas. He's in Oregon. He's all over the place. They want him. He's busy. And we've been graced to have a little bit of his time today. Ben, good to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, John.
So, Ben, Caucus of the Corn, they can't even get their rules together. Morgan Griffith just got on, and after both of us were blasting the Dick Cheney, Tom Cotton warmongers, Laura Ingraham and the bunch of them, then Griffith said, look, I mean, what's the deal? Why don't you just get the rules done, get a package done, and why not just give the Republicans 45% of representation on the committee, which has always been done? Ben, you got the inside track. What's going on?
Well, I haven't heard anything about the committee structure changing in terms of proportional representation. That would be news to me. It's always been that based on the number of seats you won, it's not exact, but right, that it is the closest allocation to where you ended up. So the discussion about whether or not proportional representation is ending, I have not heard that from until just now. So that would surprise me. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that part of what might be delaying the rules is that we're in a situation right now where there have been a number, I'm sure by far a record number of threats made against these legislators that have just been elected. A number of them, I think the Capitol Police are very concerned about because some very specific threats that were made against them. And I think you're going to see the rules in both the House and the Senate probably have some additional protocols in them for safety reasons for the members. And I have a feeling that's probably what's the biggest delay is. But we'll find out later today when they unveil the package if there's other things in there. But I think that's the biggest thing that's going on.
All right, so you think it's they're concerned about, they're not trying to manipulate the rules because the conjecture right now is they just can't get their act together. Like Griffith said, they're not ready for prime time. You don't think it's that?
I mean, look, I think in 2017, had the Democrats picked up 2 more seats, that was a train wreck waiting to happen. When they were at 34, if they'd suddenly been thrown into the majority, I think they certainly in the House were not ready for prime time. I think they're in a much better position now. That having been said, there's only 2 members of the 55 Democrats in the House. Only 2 of them have ever served in the majority. And I do think you're going to see some growing pains the same way that at some of the local governments that flipped control this year, as they're starting to get together, you're seeing some growing pains there. Mm-hmm. Because this is just a group of Democrats that's not been in the majority. And I don't think that the Senate will have the same problems. The Senate split back and forth a number of times.
Right.
And I just don't think that you're going to see those types of issues come up in the Senate.
Plus, there's, with Saslaw, Janet Howell, Eben, Chapp, the Northern Virginia contingent, Survell. I mean, there's vast intellectual, institutional knowledge, right, that you don't necessarily have in the House. Like I said, there's only 2 people that have ever served in the majority, so you don't have that institutional knowledge that you're going to have in the Senate body because people have served there a long time and they've been in the minority and in the majority, so they better understand it. Ben, let's get to one of the issues you wanted to talk about yesterday was Scott Taylor going from running for U.S. Senate to running for Congress. I think he's now running for Congress, 2nd District. He's the overwhelming, and let me underscore that, overwhelming favorite to be the nominee. That is a primary. Taylor is going to win that with about 60% of the vote. It's going to be absolute blowout because the people he's running against in the Republican primary for that seat, it's basically a clown show. So he's going to win that big. But you had some concerns about his candidacy. I want you to share that.
Well, first of all, I mean, I think, John, in terms of the Republican primary, I would just say that, Scott Taylor was a congressman. He played in the major leagues. And now you're telling me that he's going to do well in a primary where he's going back and playing against a bunch of A-ball players.
I'm saying that he's going to be the nominee. I mean, I don't think he's going to be the nominee. So he's a nominee. Now we get to June 8th. He's the nominee to go against Luria. What are your thoughts?
So this is what I picked up on in the last week from his flip back to the House and his announcement. If you and John, you interviewed him quite a number of times when he was a congressman, all the way up till this new candidacy announcement. And one of the things that in 2018 was very consistent when he had his staff around him, when the NRCC was supporting him, Scott went out of his way to be very professional in the way that he talked about his opponent. And once Elaine was nominated, specifically Elaine, I think we could go back and pull the clips of, Commander Luria. As the moment he got out of office and these people stopped surrounding him and people stopped telling him what to say or do, we got to see the real Scott Taylor. And the real Scott Taylor that reemerged on your show, and I know you saw the controversy that came out from your show this week, referring to Abigail Spanberger and Elaine Luria as girls, the national security girls. I mean, I think he really showed himself. And I think it's going to be very hard for him to come back, because I think now that he's shown himself and he's shown who he really is, I think people in this district are going to know that play before was next.
Wow, that's a stretch, Ben. So if he said national security women, that would have made the difference. Or does he have to say national security people? I mean, it would be like it would be like somebody is saying the good old boys, or the boys in the Senate neocon club.
Is that we've all heard Scott know how to speak respectfully about people, and then we know. Well,
it's a false premise, because you're advancing the premise that calling a woman a girl is somehow derogatory. How the hell is that derogatory? If you call me a man, fine. A people, fine. A boy, fine. Hey, boy. Hey, John and his other radio show friends, the Rush Limbaugh boys, or whatever you want to say. I don't take offense to that.
John, I think if you actually believe that, why don't you should adopt that on your show, and going forward, make sure when you.
That's not my style. That's not my style. I don't do that. I don't refer. It's not my style. But to say that Taylor's to make
why isn't it your style, John?
It's just not. Everybody's got their own style.
It's not respectful, so you don't do it. That's great. Good for you. Unfortunately, we got to see that Scott Taylor doesn't have that manner of respect. I mean, look, I think when you change like that, when you change mid-course, everybody can see it. Everybody gets to see the difference. And I think that this is the bigger piece. You all saw the real Scott Taylor this week. And that's the Scott Taylor that was around Richmond. That's the Scott Taylor that ran for Congress and got into a feud with Gary Byler. That's the frankly extremely immature guy who does not have any business being in office. That Scott Taylor, that's what has reemerged.
Because he referred to Spanberger and Luria as a national security girls. That disqualifies him for being a United States congressman. Are you serious? Are you serious, Ben?
Look, well, first of all, I don't ever say anyone's disqualified from doing anything, because when you look at this president and what he's done, since becoming president, he's lowered the bar for everybody. So no one's ever disqualified from anything in the Trump era. But I think that what Scott Taylor showed us, I don't think that he will be able to get elected after that. I don't think he's disqualified himself. I think he's lost the election once again, where it's self-inflicted wounds, just like
because he refers to two women as girls. I just, for the life of me, I don't see how that is derogatory.
One of the reasons why Scott was kept on such careful talking points by the NRCC last time to always make sure to call Elaine Commander Luria.
I don't call her Commander Luria. I don't call her Commander Lauria. I just call her Elaine. What? So it's disrespectful of I call her Elaine now?
Scott Taylor last time. I said Scott Taylor. I didn't say anything about John Fredericks. So, if you interrupt my sentence, I didn't talk about you. I said what Scott Taylor was told to do last time and did for a year on your show repeatedly. Commander Lauria, Commander Lauria. You know why he was told to do that?
Why?
Because voters in his district, especially in an overwhelmingly military district, do not appreciate the kind of disrespectful talk like he's doing now. It doesn't play well. That's why he will lose the election. So it doesn't disqualify him. It's going to cause him to lose because he's too stupid to know not to do it. And it just doesn't play down there. So, that's the position Scott Taylor put himself in, the same way that he lost the last election because he was too stupid to not get involved into a petition scandal that, frankly, he's still under criminal investigation for because he's not smart enough to avoid it. And that's too bad. But that's the Scott Taylor that everyone knows, everyone knew from Richmond when he was a delegate. Everyone in Virginia Beach Republican politics knew from the immature stuff he got into with Gary Byler. And, maybe the Republicans will win back that seat when they get a real candidate, but it's not going to be with Scott Taylor.
I don't agree with that. I think he's going to win. I mean, I just don't see where one comment calling two national security congresswomen girls is that at the end of the day, 8 people are going to change their vote because of that. Here, I got a text, though, I got to read from Nick in Virginia Beach. Nick says, come on, man, Ben Loyola is a great candidate. Former naval officer and Cuban American will be able to appeal to minority voters. Ben Loyola has run for every office Loyola has run for. He's lost. And he ran for these offices as a Cuban American and a naval officer. So at some point, Nick, you have to say to yourself, you know what? People just don't like the guy, right? So he's not going to win. He's raised $100,000 in 8 months. Guy is not going to win. Taylor's going to be the nominee. So forget about it. And if I was there, I'd vote for Taylor because I think he can win. I just don't know, Ben, that August to November, people are going to be making the decision based on a comment he made in calling 2 women girls in January. I don't see where that's going to amount to.
I think when you show who you are, people remember.
But I guess the premise of calling 2 women girls is offensive. Let me ask Kiara. Now, look, I'm old school. I'm 61 years old, going to be 62 in a month. Kiara, is calling somebody a girl, calling a congressman those 2, what do you call, national security girls? Do you find that to be, were you offended by that? Honestly.
Were these grown women or men? Or?
No, women. They're serving in Congress. Lori and Spanberger.
Can I have the whole context, please?
Oh, no, because you were here doing that. But he just said, look, these 2 national security girls said one thing and did something else. And everybody picked up on that, and that was all he said. He said on my show, I never thought anything of it. I just went on, and is that offensive?
To them, if they're grown women and they want to be called women instead of girls, I guess. But
it's not, you were here when he said that. It's not like you were like, wow, I can't believe Taylor said that, right?
I also wasn't paying attention.
Oh, well, you should be admitting that on the air.
I was doing work.
You're supposed to be paying attention.
Post-production.
Always know the answer before you ask the
question.
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah.
I know, right? Always
Ben?
know the answer. I wasn't paying attention to Scott Taylor
Signing out.
because I'm not voting for him anyway.
Exactly.
Honesty is the best policy. Well, Scott, if you're listening now, you don't have Kiara Johnson's vote, and you didn't have it before you called the 2 women the national security girls, and you don't have it after. Either way, you don't have her vote. And she tuned you out. I got to stop laughing. We're out of time. Kiara, that's the funniest comment. She tuned Scott Taylor out. Ben, maybe that's really what's happening here with Scott Taylor. Not that he called them girls, but the people are just tuning him out. Maybe they're just tired of him. So that could be it. We're out of time. We're out of time. Kara didn't pay attention to Scott Taylor. John Fredericks Radio Network.